All right, thanks for coming, everyone. Good morning, Damian Silver with the Chicagoland Chamber and the Small Business Development Center here at the Chamber. Just want to thank everyone for coming in person and on the webinar. The Chamber has been around for about 107 years. Pro-business chamber, one of the largest in the state. We're a 5-star regional, and our goal is to promote business growth here in Chicago and the region. We pretty much consider ourselves the voice of small businesses for about 100 years. We have new developments with the SBDC, which John Robertson will tell us about here in a minute. But just wanted to go through a couple quick things. We have a couple flyers. One is the $100,000 promotion, which we're running through the Chamber with our friends at Click Studios, which is a chance for a small business to win a $100,000 promotion. So pretty much sign up online, tell us your story. There will be one winner that's picked, and we will go through, and there's a little small business card on your chairs, and you have the chance to win that promotion, which was basically designed to bring you as much exposure as possible to help you grow your business. Also on the chairs, October 5th, we have a speed networking event, which these can all be found on our website at chicagolandchamber.org. Speed networking October 5th in conjunction with Crane Small Business Week. It's a chance for you to pretty much fill out a form that will help pair you up with companies that are in your target market. So you get a chance to fill out a profile that says, I want to meet companies of this size in this industry, and then also likewise say, I don't want to talk to companies of this size and maybe other industries, so it narrows it down for you. So your hour and a half spent there is focused on specific targets for your business. So it's just a way to kind of break it down. Instead of walking into a room with 100 people and not knowing which ones are good prospects for you, you've done that already. We've set up 10 meetings. A little bit about how we got here. We had a small business procurement or government advisory update about 2 months ago. And through that feedback from that event, we had a lot of our members and small businesses that said, we want to know more about doing business with the public sector. So this is a response to the feedback from local small businesses. So we will be asking for your feedback following this event. We will send out a quick questionnaire to say, hey, what else can we do for you to help you grow your business? So with that, I'm done. I want to introduce John Robertson from the Small Business Development Center, the Executive Director of our Small Business Development Center here at the Chicagoland Chamber.
Good morning. My name is John Robertson, and I run the Small Business Development and Resource Center and the International Trade Center here at the Chamber. We're really glad that everyone is both here personally and on our webinar. We're really excited about this because the Chamber has really taken a very aggressive step to make sure that we are focusing on small business. Everyone's heard about Groupon and Grubhub and all of the early stage business successes with entrepreneurs. But one of the things that we also recognize is that there are existing businesses that need the same type of support, the same type of advocacy. And we want to make sure that we're providing the type of infrastructure and resources to make sure that our existing businesses continue to grow and continue to create jobs. This is a part of that process. And so when we talk about how to do business with government, I'm very familiar with that. I spent 15 years working for Mayor Daley. I served as Commissioner of Aviation, Commissioner of Buildings, Commissioner of Sewers, and Commissioner of Construction and Permits. You're going to hear a lot of great information from our government affairs folks and from people who will tell you a lot of information about how to do business with government. The 2 inside secrets I will tell you: number 1, become the subject matter expert that the government leans on in terms of new innovative things that are going on in your particular industry. One of the things that I really depended on when I was a commissioner in setting the requirements for what we were going to procure was really understanding what was the latest, greatest things that were going on in the industry, because sometimes government can be a few years behind in terms of what those things are. So best practices, innovative things, were really indispensable for us. Second, know who the people are within the agency that you're going to do business with that are below kind of the policymakers, but the people who are actually doing the day-to-day work, because those are the folks that ultimately the commissioners and the heads of those agencies depend upon in terms of recommendations. So if you get to know them, they get to know you, you provide good value add, you're going to find that you're going to build some very strong relationships there. So our Small Business Development Center, that's just a little secret stuff, but secret sauce for you. But our Small Business Development Center is really focused on trying to help you as small business owners. We provide free advisory services around everything that small businesses need. Everything from, if you're thinking about a new sales and marketing plan, if you're thinking about a new business model for your company, if you're thinking about human resource issues, if you're thinking about negotiating, if you're thinking about going after either angel, venture capital, private equity, debt, we got it. So we have a lot of great experts, a lot of great people in our network that are subject matter experts to help our small business. One other thing that I will give you is that we as Chamber have become one of the premier partners for a very exciting initiative that has just been launched within the last week, and that is the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Initiative. This program is going to be absolutely phenomenal in that it is going to take 30 leading, very innovative businesses from around our region. They're going to, over the course of 18 weeks, be put and immersed in a very high-level kind of executive, accelerated mini executive MBA class. You're going to get access to Goldman Sachs execs who will serve as mentors and serve as advisors for you. You will have access to other premier partners like the Chamber, where we will be working with you as well to help get your business to that next level. Extremely exciting. We want you to go to our website at www.chicagolandchamber.com. You can fill out the application and be directed there. .org, I'm sorry. I got .com on the brain. So go to the Chamber website and fill out the application. The applications are due by October 26th. The requirements are that you have to be in business at least 2 years, a minimum of $150,000 in revenue, and have to have at least 4 employees. So the great thing is that this is not just coupled with an education component, it's also coupled with capital. They have dedicated out of their $300 million national fund, $25 million specifically for the Chicago region. So those that are part of the program obviously will get priority in terms of access to that capital, loans, somewhere in the range of about $125,000 up to about $500,000. But if you are not part of the program, you will still have the opportunity to access this capital pool. So extremely exciting initiative. We want to make sure that our Chamber members and people who are affiliated with the Chamber are first in line to have the opportunity to be a part of this program, but also to have opportunity to get access to the capital. So again, we're excited that you're here. We're excited that you're participating. We're your Chamber, and we're here for only one purpose, and that is to help your business to grow and so that you become profitable, so that you can in turn do all of the great things in the community that are needed in order to make our city and our region great. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John Carpenter from our Government Affairs.
Thank you, John. My name is John Carpenter, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Public Policy here at the Chamber. And as both Damien and John have said, small business is clearly a focus of this organization. And from the Government Affairs Division, the Government Affairs Division is committed to helping small business whenever and wherever we can. Many times small businesses face hurdles put up by government, whether it's state legislature, state government, city, and the county. And we are ready and anxious to be helpful so that your businesses can grow and we don't face unnecessary burden from any level of government. One of the these kinds of initiatives that we're working on these days is workers' comp reform, unemployment insurance, and that as your companies grow and those become issues, we're hopeful to create a business-friendly climate here in Illinois. We've got one of the great champions of small business here, Representative LaShawn Ford, and somebody I work closely with in Springfield, who's been supportive of all of our efforts, and really has workforce development, small business at the top of his list, and he happens to be a neighbor of mine as well. So you'll hear some interesting things from him as well. If there are issues which face your company and we can be helpful, please contact Damien or John or contact me directly, and we will clearly put that on our list of initiatives that we follow in Springfield or City Hall and try to clear the way for you to be successful businesses. So with that, back to you.
So good morning, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and sit down so I can man my Ford over here. My name is Juana Marie, and I'm the Business Services Coordinator for Illinois Worknet. And to give you a quick run-through, Worknet is the state's online portal for Workforce Investment Act services. So what that means is there's a little bucket of money that goes to all of you that need to get assistance through your Workforce Investment Act Title I funds. And so that means that you can go in and get help with your business plans and all the other things that the small business development centers do. And along with that, there's a portal where we put all these resources. We don't have money to give you, but we'll give you some information. So I'm going to go ahead and just really quickly show you, if you could drive for me, Damien,
Sure.
how to, where you'll get this information. So we're doing this online as a webinar as well as live here at the Chamber. And you can get the archived webinar after we have it posted, a week after this event, on the business pathway. So you can go ahead to IllinoisWorknet.com and click on businesses. And then you click on business services. And you'll notice that on the left-hand side, everything is left-hand navigation. You'll have business resources. And a lot of this came out of this initiative that we did on starting a small business. A lot of people that can't find jobs will just start their own business. A lot of people that are industry veterans, very well seasoned, will create their own companies. And so we decided that maybe not everybody wants to pay for parking to come to the Chamber, so we'll put it online so everyone can have access to it. And then we have all of those resources available as free webinars on the portal. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and welcome the people on the webinar. We'll give you some links on how to get to this information and hand it over to the panelists.
Good morning. I am Rita Hockey. I'm the director of the Illinois Procurement Technical Assistance Center at College of DuPage. For the rest of the morning, you're going to hear me refer to it as PTAC. The acronym, and it's a lot easier to say. Our mission is to assist small businesses with local, state, and federal contracting. It is economic development for the state of Illinois. If you're winning the contracts, we're helping you create jobs and retain jobs. I am the representative here today, but we are a state network. We are federally funded by Defense Logistics Agency. And in the state of Illinois, we are funded by Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. I am one of 10. At everybody's chair, there is a PTAC location listing, so you can see all the locations throughout the state. Also for the webinar participants, we have the listing that's been attached. What we do is we actually walk through our clients through any governmental contracting process. Our services are free of charge because we are grant funded. So what our service is, we have a customized computerized bid matching. You would supply to us keywords. If a government agency is describing what you're trying to sell to them, what are words they may use? You would give us those words, we put them in our system, and our system searches over 400 sites per day on your behalf. We do search nationally. We don't restrict to Illinois possibility. From there, if you were to identify an opportunity that you look at and say, I think this has possibility, then you come back to us and we will work with you one-on-one on responding to that opportunity. We also help our clients with the base registrations, local, state, and federal. We help you federally. We can tell you right away what you need to do. Locally, we have to wait and see what that local government calls for. Every local municipality, city, township, they do it a little differently. Every state does it a little differently. State of Illinois, of course, we can help you right away with. We will help you with certifications. If you're a woman-owned, minority-owned, federally there is veteran-owned, service-disabled veteran-owned, 8A. We will help you through those processes as well. A women-owned business potentially would have local certification possibility, state certification possibility, and federal certification possibility. So we sit with our clients one-on-one to figure out, do you need them all, or do you need to focus in one target market and really work through it with you? We help with what's called GSA schedules. That is a federal contract that I've been a director for the PTAC for over 15 years at this point. 15 years ago when I started, General Services Administration had the GSA schedules. If a client came in, I would tell them, no, we're not going to do that because the federal government wasn't using their own contracting vehicle at the time. Now we have a complete shift, And it's one of the first things I have to sit and talk to clients about. Lots of consultants out there that are more than happy to take your money and convince you can't do it yourself. And I will say you can do it yourself with our guidance, and everything we do is free. The bottom line to that type of contracting is you're being pre-approved by the federal government. So it expedites the contracting process. So it's a tool in your toolbox, and you can do that GSA schedule at any time. There's 35 different schedules that covers multiple products and services. Not every company belongs having a GSA schedule contract, so we help the companies figure that out as well. We will do market research for our companies. Ideally, at any level, you want the contracting personnel. That's the one who can actually make the final decision. Well, that's the one that usually they don't put that name out there unless there's an actual opportunity on the table. So what we can do is find you maybe the small business specialist. That is what they're called at the federal level. Every agency has small business specialists, and they're in place to be your advocate to help you understand how do you get further and work with that specific agency. The Army has them, the Navy has them, EPA has them, every federal agency. There's approximately, just on contracting personnel federally, over 100,000 personnel. So it's a very big market, and we really try and help you target it, so we give you a much smaller approach to it. I think that covers an overview of what we do. So now I'm going to pass the mic on down.
Thank you, Rita. My name is Bart Richards. I'm a managing director with a consulting company named the Claro Group. Claro is headquartered right here in downtown in the Loop. And we have many service lines. My team helps clients with cost reduction work and specifically around non-labor expenses. We have, our perspective is we've done work at clients like the state of Illinois, state of New Jersey, and other publicly funded hospitals. So it's from this perspective that we'll be speaking today. We also have a government contracts practice, and this would be the consultants that aren't free. We help large organizations win and then maintain and then stay in compliance with their federal contracts. And we'll get into a little bit about why that sometimes is a little bit complicated. And I was asked to speak about some do's and don'ts to the audience. So go ahead. Okay, so some unique issues when you're dealing with the government. First of all, and what was surprising to us when we first got into the business is the actual responses to a request for proposal may actually be more detailed than you might have when you're responding to a similar contract on the commercial side. So a pricing schedule, for instance, where you're asked to, say, provide information on what your bid is going to cost, actually our experience is much more detailed with the government, whether it's with a city, a state, or the federal government. Also, the technical response might be more detailed. So the investment that your team will need to put into the response, be prepared, it's going to be significant. Also, it might be tough for a small, privately held organization to give up your financial statements, but that's often a requirement, whether it's P&L, balance sheet, or statement of cash flows. You also have a decision to make. Sometimes it's required or asked that you provide audited financial statements, and many small organizations will have unaudited but not audited. So that's something that you need to, just like our earlier speakers talked about, it's very important to get close with the folks that you're going to be marketing to understand, is that truly a knockout requirement for my business? Also, understand when you provide your proposal, whether it's to a state, again, a county, or the federal government, your proposal may in fact be public domain material, including your pricing response. So again, keep that in mind. And then always look out for addendums. Typically they're going to be put on some type of website, whether it's responses to Q&A questions or extensions to the proposal. I can't tell you how many times that we've been responding and all of a sudden it comes out and we get another week to respond to the proposal. And so we have to, manage our resources effectively. Go ahead. Okay, some best practices. We tell our clients, if you're responding to a proposal from any government entity, make sure you have the legal group responding to it for a few reasons. One, just like Rita talked about, there are lots of folks within the government agencies who are responsible for contract administration. They're often removed from the people that you would be working with in the delivery, and sometimes that's intentional. So if your sales team is doing it disconnected from your delivery team, that might be a problem, and we'll talk about change management in just a moment. The other thing to keep in mind is the proposal response will, in fact, in some cases, become the contract. So your one time to make any changes to T's and C's is during the proposal response. Understand that doing business with the government may have implications for the business. We're listing tax implications. So let's say your business is in Illinois and you decided to do business with a government entity in Indiana or Wisconsin. That might have tax implications for your business, so keep that in mind. Often there are clauses in the contract that may be unique to government, most favored nations clauses. I talked about our government contracts group does work at large organizations. We have helped companies stay in compliance with their federal governments when they have, in fact, passed on a lower price on their commercial business that the government says, you know what, that's great, but we want to have that lower price in your service that you're providing to the government. So that's something to keep in mind. Audit clauses, as well as reimbursable expenses, are issues that you need to be aware of. So, for instance, your policies to reimburse your employees for your expenses may be different than what the federal government allows for. Often, in request for proposal responses, there are a lot of competitors. So the good news is you're going to get an opportunity to bid. The bad news, it is competitive. Be timely and be complete in your response, because evaluators are looking for reasons why to exclude respondents in the process. Recognize as well that protesting a bid is an option. It's further investment for your company. Typically what will happen is that the government agency will very clearly lay out, or they should lay out, exactly what the evaluation of the proposals will be based on. If you feel that that wasn't done per the contract or per the proposal, you can protest. Go ahead. Okay, finally, learn how the bid and notification process works at your targeted agency. So government entities are required, typically, to post opportunities for not only small businesses, but all businesses. Probably the most important thing I can leave you today with, when you're doing business with the federal, state, or local governments, make sure your business employs a rigorous change management process. And what I mean by that is you'll have the technical response to your proposal. That will turn into a contract that has the scope of work that your company is providing. On the commercial side, and we'll make this decision as well, we'll say, you know what, the client will ask us to do something a little bit outside the scope. And we'll do that, in a spirit to over-deliver, with the idea that, you know what, maybe we can make it up on the back end with a change order or something like that. With the government, it's very important actually not to do that. Stick with your scope of work. If they ask you for more work, say, that's great, appreciate you asking about that. We're going to institute a change order process for that. Finally, if you are dealing with any kind of bids that deal with the federal government, maybe there's matching funds, it's typically infrastructure projects. You may need to have skills so you understand the FAR, the Federal Acquisitions Regulations. And then finally, once you do win your work with a government, make sure that you have a process to stay in compliance with that contract. That's my overview this morning.
Hey everybody, can you hear us?
Ready? All right. I don't know what happened. I mean, I planned to, I'm State Rep LaShawn Ford, so I was prepared to be on time, so I came early. And so my schedule said 11. So I was here at 10:50. So I still was late. So just can't get it right. But I'm happy to be here. I'm a small business owner myself, Ford Desired Real Estate. And of course, I don't receive any state contracts as state representative or as a business owner. But what I am happy about being a state representative is that you get to work with people. And when you're in Springfield and when you're doing constituent service work, sometimes you get sidetracked about the real issues that really, really will make a difference. But when you are able to listen to the constituents and business community, then you stay on track. And so I was excited one day. I think we were walking down the hall one day, and a person named Dan Johnson of the Small Business Advocacy Council, and he's here today. He said, I got something good, and it'd be great for you. You're the chairman of the Small Business Empowerment Workforce Development Committee, and I think you should carry it. So one of the advantages of being a state rep and elected officials is you get to take the credit, but other people do all the work at the beginning. But of course, you have to do work in the House and in the committee. But in this case, Dan Johnson Weinberg, he also helped through the committee. He helped with the governor's office. So this was a easy bill for me to carry. And what the bill does, for the first time, it sets a goal for certain percentages of the state contracts to be awarded to small businesses. So I think that's a great addition to state government when unemployment is so high, and our goal is to strengthen small businesses and create jobs. We know that small businesses create over 80% of the employment in the state. So this now law signed August of 2011 by the governor. We now have a first-time act, and it's called the Small Business Contract Act for the state of Illinois. And Dan Johnson and his council, we will be working together to bring all of the agent heads to the table to make sure that they understand the goals that the act has set for them, and we want to make sure that they are able to reach the goals. What's important is that we work with the chambers and all of the different agencies throughout the state and the non-for-profits in the community that support local businesses and small businesses so that we can reach the goal. We can have this act in place, but if people are not applying for state contracts, then we probably won't reach the goal. And I think that we're going to continue to do everything we can to make sure that the agencies, the procurement officers are aware that we will not let up on this, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we reach the goal. It's not a mandate by, you can't do set-asides, but it's a goal, and if people don't apply, and if we can't reach the goal, we can't leave the other 5%, say, out there waiting for small businesses to apply. But it's definitely a great act that Illinois has and the governor supports. And it was almost it was down to the wire. It was one of those situations where the governor's office thought that it might have been unconstitutional, and he was going to mandatory veto it. And after more talk from Dan Johnson, he's right here. You guys see, you can't see him, but there he is, sitting right there. He's got a green tie on, and he spoke to the governor's office. We were talking to the governor's office together, trying to assure them that this was not going to be something that they had to worry about with the courts, and so they were worried that it might have problems with IDOT. But we found out that there will be no problems, and now it's an act, and we should meet the goal. And that's my report.
And are we adding your email to the chat? So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask Q&A questions. And so I'll leave the chat pod. I started a queue for everybody on the webinar. And we'll go ahead and repeat the questions, and then if you have any questions here, we'll kind of go one-on-one so they don't feel left out. And we'll get started. So the first question is, was from Diane King, and she asked, can the host presenter clarify and define what qualifies as a small business, i.e. revenue, so on and so forth? So you can see the question up here. So maybe Rita, do you want to go ahead and get that?
The question is, well, the answer is it depends. It depends on where you want to do business. So if you're focusing on being a small business in the state of Illinois, you have to be below 250 employees, and if you're in wholesale service, I believe it's still less than $6 million in sales. If you want to do business with the federal government, then it's dependent on the industry, and there's something called the North American Industry Classification System. You will hear the acronym NAICS. There is a size standard that is correlated to every NAICS code, and you can find that at the SBA website, which is www.sba.gov. I will give you an example. I'll give you the minimums. Manufacturers, so anybody supplying a product, they are judged by the annual number of employees. The smallest is less than 500 employees to be considered small business to the federal government. It will go up depending on the industry. Some hit the level of 1,500 or less is still small. On the service side, so professional services, really just about any service, the smallest is architectural, and that is a 3-year average annual revenue of less than $4.5 million. Now, again, it depends on the industry at the federal level. Construction can go as high as $33.5 million over a 3-year average.
I have a follow-on to that question. Is there a minimum size? Is there a point at which you're too small to be considered a small business?
Okay, so the follow-on question was, is there a minimum size where you're too small to be a government contractor?
Right.
The answer is no. My client base is varied. I have some where it's the business owner is the only employee, and they are potentially below $50,000 in sales. So there's really no minimum. It's going to depend on, can you do the work, and can you prove you've done the work? The federal government specifically is not truly interested in startup businesses. They want to know that you've had some commercial experience. If you're in a service industry, they'll ask for past performance references, and you'll write up how is the work commercially relevant to the work they want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So a question we have on the webinar from Ann Kern is, who can I partner with to provide subsidy to clients who private pay for home health care services?
I'm not clear on the question.
Ann, if you want to go ahead and just clarify your question, and we'll try to get back to you on that. Any other questions in the audience?
Sure. Follow-up, I guess. So in your experience, do you find that the state definitions of small business versus the federal definition of small business, does one of them make more sense? One of them better than the other?
In 15 years of doing this, I will tell you the federal government is the lead as far as hands-down efficiency in governmental contracting. The state has amended their size in the 15 years I've been there, so they've made some changes. In all honesty, a business the size of 500 employees, to most of us, you wouldn't call that a small business. Right. So I think the state size standard really does make more sense, but the federal government is giving themselves more latitude, is the bottom line. But a 500-employee business is a pretty big business. It seems like the states will lag behind the federal government as far as changes go. I would say it's usually 3 to 5 years that we may see an adjustment. Everybody somewhat focuses on the federal, but doesn't exactly want to adapt to federal guidelines and standards. Does that help?
Sure.
And I'm sorry to the webinar people, the follow-up was, well, what?
Yeah, I mean, the question is, if you're in charge,
Right.
you're setting policy, which one makes more sense?
The question was, if you're in charge and setting policy, which makes more sense, state guidelines or federal guidelines? That's a tough call. Realistically, I tell all my clients, currently, it's easier to sell to the federal government than it is local or state.
Okay.
Which is, most find that hard to believe, but it's a more simplified process, more efficient process. And they get paid faster.
Right.
Someone on the webinar asked, does anyone have an example of the type of contracts that an IT company could do with the federal government?
Sure, let me jump in. At the beginning, I talked about the GSA schedules type contracting, and again, you could go to www.gsa.gov and type in their search GSA schedules, and it will come up. There is a schedule that's called Schedule 70, and it's IT. It's the IT schedule. On there, any company can offer products and or services, and what the federal government does in this case is they have line items. So if you're a product company, you're only going to check off, here's my offer based on the products I do, and you won't offer on the services. And if you're a service company, you would do the opposite, of course. That will get you pre-approved federally. So now contracting officers can contract with you quicker because you're being pre-approved based on best pricing. Bart referred to most favored nation, and we call it most favored customer. It's the same idea, and the whole idea of a GSA schedule is you are treating the federal government equal to or better than your best customer, and you have to document that fact. You submit the paperwork they require with your pricing proposal. They will approve you for a GSA contract. So now you have a contract. It's really a contract of no value because you have to go out and now find those customers to buy against what you've been awarded. That's probably the harder part, to market and get them to buy from you, but they do give you some electronic bulletin boards to utilize. There's a system called the eBuy. So a contracting officer can post up, I need, and I'll tell you in IT, I just saw one yesterday, it was professional services and they needed Oracle support. So they had a project in mind and they were looking for a contractor to give them a proposal or quote on what would it cost, how many hours. So GSA schedules is one. The other one, that any contract of value of $25,000 or more, it's required to be advertised at FedBizOps. The address is www.fbo.gov. You can go out there and you can search that system based on, if you go to the advanced search, it'll give you multiple criteria to search on. And if you look for, if your services, you would look for category D, as in dog. And if your products, you would look for category 70, which is the information technology category. And you can search and see what is active today and what was done. I think it will go, I've seen them as far back as 2001. You can get some archive data out of there. So that gives you sort of an overview on the federal government does a great job of advertising. Now, if it's below $25,000, they are not required to advertise. That is where they would use potentially that GSA schedule because you've already been approved, or they're going to count on businesses that have started marketing to them. So it's the proactive side of going out to those small business specialists and letting them know you exist, because it's about exposure. They don't know you exist until you let them know. So it's a tough arena to try and sell in. because you could literally spend every day trying to market yourself. So we really try and target it a little bit more.
I'd like to add something to that. The question again was, I am an IT consulting or professional services firm, and how could I do business with the federal government? Our consulting company, when we are responding to a public procurement, is always looking for a partner that might be a minority firm, a women business enterprise-owned firm, and having firms like that proactively come to us and tell us about your services is fantastic, because then we'll know if it's an accounting issue, and the procurement says you need 10 to 20% of your services need to be to a minority firm. Knowing who those firms are really helps us. Well, if we don't know, we'll go out and start to proactively reach out to people that we know to understand the marketplace and partner with the best person we think is possible. So in the case of federal procurement, it would be the same type of issue. IT services or hardware, for instance, some of the large opportunities might be firms like Accenture, some of the big four accounting firms that already are diversifying into services again. So those would be examples.
And I can add to that. We do a lot of matchmaking on just that process, getting larger established companies matched up with MBE or WBE companies that can help them generate business opportunities, because they can't get certified, so they need to partner with somebody that is. So that happens quite a bit, so it's a great point, Bart.
At every level, well, I won't say at every level of government, state and federal, they have a Flowdown clause is what they call it. So federal government identifies that if they award a contract of $650,000 or more in value to a large company, that large company has to go out and subcontract out to small, women-owned, small disadvantaged business, HUB-Zone certified, service-disabled, veteran-owned. So it's the subcontracting side. State of Illinois, I don't know how many years ago at this point, they adapted to that as well, and theirs is $500,000. Then they require the subcontracting as well. So that's where the two could really help. The prime contractor list for the federal government is public information. SBA has one, so that SBA.gov. Department of Defense has one, and I don't know that website by heart. So if you type in a Google search or Yahoo and say subcontracting directory, you will see the federal government's listing, and then you can identify those that have the requirement, and you may want to market to those individuals.
Questions for Representative Ford? Anything from the last session or loosen regulations and increased taxes for small business? Any measures of note from the last session or video?
We're still meeting. We're going to have a hearing to see what we could do for small businesses. I know that the Revenue Committee had hearings, several hearings at the Thompson Center, I believe, or at the Bellenic Building to see what we could put together for the veto session to loosen the tax burden on businesses in Illinois. So we shall see. The chair of that committee is John Bradley. And so I'm sure he's working on some things for that.
Very good.
Yeah.
So we have another question on the webinar, and the question, and I think this is more for Rita, is how long does it take to get paid by the federal government? I don't know if there's an answer for that.
I can give you an answer both ways. State of Illinois, what we're hearing is 9 to 12 months for payment, except if it's a federally funded project, so think in terms of construction, whether roadway, highway, or building. Federally funded projects would be through the American Recovery Reinvestment Act, ARRA. If it's a state project that is federally funded, you'll get paid promptly because the state is just paying out those federal funds. If it's state money paying it, it's 9 to 12 months. On the federal side, they appropriate the funds when they put the opportunity out there, so you will be paid. If it goes 30 days, there is a problem. Federal government pays very quickly. If the service is a long-term, over a year or 2 years, they'll set you up on a monthly cycle. There's different possibilities. If it's less than $3,000 in value, it will be paid by credit card, and those are paid within 3 to 4 days of delivery. Usually you'll see it more on the product side. If it is below 25,000, actually below 150,000 is simplified acquisition. They like to pay those by electronic funds transfer, so it's really just a wire transfer of money into your bank account, and those are 12 to 14 days.
So another question on the webinar, they're very active, you can see. Nicole asked, who can I reach out to for the retail clothing industry if I'm starting a clothing line and need funds to purchase property or even get established? I have a business name on the file, but basically starting from ground up to establish the service line.
I would say your best advice in that situation is to utilize John Robertson, the Small Business Development Centers. There's about 42 of them located in the state. They would be considered our sister group, and they work primarily with startup companies. So I would say if you're a member of the Chicagoland Chamber, yes, you want to come there. Otherwise, as I said, there's 42 located throughout the state. Again, I don't remember the website offhand, but we could get that out to the group.
And actually, you can use the Find a Location Near You part of the portal on the business side to find your local center. So if you are joining us via webinar from Central or Southern Illinois, you'll find the one near your area. So.
And you can call us at the Chamber. You know, we are the SBDC out of the Chamber, so you don't have to be a member to take advantage of Small Business Development Center support. Although, you know, it might help for you to become a member later on down the road once you're established and revenue generating, but that's not necessary, but we're always happy to help.
Any other questions?
So scheduling an appointment like at the PTAC office out at COD is just a starting off point.
Okay.
Might be a good thing to do.
Good question. So the question is scheduling an appointment with the PTAC, the reference was to the College of DuPage PTAC that I am located out of, is that a good starting point? Let me give you an idea on that initial session. Initially, we do request our clients come to us physically for a one-on-one appointment. That appointment time is 2 hours because we will take you through what we deem the governmental contracting guideline. We'll explain the state in full. We give you a CD-ROM with all the forms you need to fill in and send off. We'll go over federal contracting. We'll talk about that bid match more in detail. We'll talk about certifications, if it's applicable, which ones should you do, what order should you do them in. We will talk about subcontracting in depth. So to start with, yes, I normally recommend you want to sit with the center one-on-one. After that, we do a lot of work, email and phone, and really, you're going to pull us in as often as you need us at that point. Some of my clients I hear from every day, some I hear from a couple times a year. It really depends on the client need. We customize the assistance. College of DuPage is one location, but as I said, there's 10 locations in the state. The listing will identify the closest. Really, you've seen one of us, you've seen all of us. You should be getting the same assistance throughout. So it's up to the client where they want to go to.
Any other questions?
Did the healthcare one? No.
Okay. So if there are no more questions, I just wanted to quickly thank everyone that presented today. And if you want to, well, we have one more question. Okay. Last question. Margaret asked, if you're signed up under one center, can you still schedule an appointment with another
PTAC, yes. You can. It's unusual. The only reason is we're all doing the same thing. There are reasons sometimes to see one center over another. So I'm not going to say, no, you can't, but I'll be bluntly honest. We stay in business because, of course, we have performance measures. We have to prove we're out there doing the work we're charged to do. Part of our performance measure is If we've assisted a company in receiving a contract award, they will report that award back to us. When you're seeing more than one center, the line gets a little blurred because you cannot report it to both centers. So you just, we're more than happy if you want to see more than one center, but you, the client, have to know you can't say it to both centers because then the state frowns upon that because it's duplicate reporting, and we don't want that to happen. So that's just one of our concerns, but we'll work with you if that's your choice.
And so I'd like to let everybody kind of have a chance to have their closing statements, and then we'll thank you all for joining.
Closing statement. I can't strongly encourage you enough, all of you, if you have an interest as far as government contracting, even a startup business, utilize the resources that Illinois has available to you. They are free resources. The resources have been in the state for well over 25 years. Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity has been our state contracting office for that amount of time. It's because of the representative we are in place, because the federal government will award contract dollars or grant dollars, but then the state has to have a matching component, and the state has always believed strongly in the program, has always funded the program, and then each entity has matching funds into the program. So it's a three-party grant, and that's why we're able to do it free. You have the Small Business Development Centers available to you. You have the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers available to you, and you have the International Trade Centers available to you. They will help with exporting. Utilize the resources available. We can't do it for you, but then we would, if you really need more assistance than what we can do, we will offer you solid referrals where we feel you will get the help you need.
This is Bart Richards with Claro. Just leave you with two things. One, keep in mind, if you're going to do business with the government, it can be a lucrative business. However, you need to understand that the investment to win the work might be greater than what you're used to. And the second thing to keep in mind is once you win your work, you need to stay focused on staying in compliance with that contract. And so you need to focus on making sure you have a strong and very structured change management process to make sure you are delivering on what you said you would do. Thank you.
And LaShawn Ford, and it can be lucrative, but one of the things, in order to become, to bid on contracts, you have to be state certified, and it's a long process, but as you heard earlier, there are a lot of support services out there to help you become state certified so that you can bid on contracts. And so I just recommend that you work with some of the state agencies and the non-for-profit agencies to help you become certified. You can always call my office, and I can refer you to DECO or any other agency to help you become state certified to do business and to receive part of the 10% or even more of the state contracts in Illinois.
All right, yep. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, everyone, on our webinar. We will send out a follow-up piece if we can create something, or if there's any other areas of support. Like Rita, we are a service that we'd like to provide, so we need your feedback to make our groups better and to provide better support. So thanks for coming.